Hello, Maud. This is Ray Bone, your lobbyist. Well, we've seen one month go by already in our 2022 legislative session, and actually not much has been accomplished yet. Um, the last week or 10 days, the redistricting that has recently come out, legislative and congressional redistricting, has been the buzz about town, as they say. And that's creating some issues at the Capitol, and we're going to see a lot of changing faces and changing positions, and it's going to be fairly interesting starting this time next year. Going to see a whole different look at the Capitol, I think, with the things that are going on. For example, I got a list here of the pairings, and pairings means legislators who are pitted against one another after the reapportionment and redistricting is completed. And this redistricting, in fact, was done by the panel of judges and appointed judges, and they came up with the final. And I think everybody, and from everything I've read, everyone believes they did a fairly good job. So just to give you some examples, the minority leader of the House, Representative Dowd, he was paired with another Republican legislator, but Representative Erickson, but she retired. She announced the other day that she's retiring. We have a couple legislators from up north, Representative Green and Representative Bliss, who I believe they are both Republicans, and they're paired against one another, and we don't know what the result of that's going to be. Normally, one or the other tries to work something out, either moves to another district or runs for a higher office. We have many of the House members, for example, that are running for the Senate, where there maybe was a retirement or whatever. So we're seeing some of that. Representative Backer, again in Red River Valley, he was pitted with the Representative Rasmussen, but Rasmussen has decided he's going to run for the Senate. So that's a prime example of what I was just talking about. We have in the House, we have a committee chair, Representative Hornstein, who is the chair of the Transportation Committee. He is paired up with Representative Long, and they're both DFLers. So the Representative Hornstein has indicated he's running again in his House seat. So we'll have to see where that leaves. We have to see where that leaves the Representative Long. In the environmental arena, we have Representative Chair Hansen, which I know many of you are familiar with. He's been paired up with a Republican legislator who was serving in a nearby district. So those two looks like they're going to have to fight it out this fall. And also, the same thing goes for Chair Rude, who's chair of the Environment and Natural Resource Committee in the Senate. She is paired against Senator Eichhorn. So they're both in the same district, and that hasn't been resolved yet. So how that's going to turn out. And of course, if it's not resolved, then they both decide that they want to run, and you've got a primary fight. So Senator Westrom and Senator Ingebrigtsen, Ingebrigtsen's chair of the Environment and Natural Resources Finance Committee, and Senator Westrom is chair of the Ag Finance Committee. So those two were paired against each other, but Senator Ingebrigtsen has indicated that he's going to be retiring at the end of the year. So that, again, takes care of that. Senator Rosen, who is chair of the Finance Committee, this is the Senate Finance Committee, one of the most powerful positions in the Senate. She was paired against Senator Draheim from the same area, and she then decided to retire. And so that was a surprise. But again, she's one of the most powerful people at the Capitol. Speaking of power, Senator Lopez Franzen, was the minority leader of the Senate, most just recently elected minority leader for the DFL. She was paired against Senator Latz in St. Louis Park. Well, that pushed her out. I guess basically she decided not to run again. So she's moved on, and she just announced yesterday that she's not running. So here you have the minority leader of the Senate, a very tight Senate, has decided she's not running. And then another one just announced late yesterday or today, and that's President of the Senate, Dave Osmek. He is dropping out and will not be running against the DFLer he was paired against, who is also a sitting senator, Senator Johnson Stewart. So anyway, that gives you some flavor of what's been going on, and that's really taken up a lot of the air at the Capitol the last week to 10 days. People trying to figure that out, but I think that's settling down real quick. So we're getting back to the work at hand. As session started a month ago, and we are also still dealing with the COVID. We're struggling with the COVID issue at the Capitol. It's a little more open than it was in the past, but still with the remote rules that they have, many legislators, frankly, aren't coming to the Capitol on a regular basis. They're doing a lot of their work, committee work, and also their session work at home in the home office, in their office at home. So anyway, that obviously makes life more difficult for folks like me who are trying to talk to the legislators about our legislative program and things like that. So we believe that's gradually going to open up. Evidently, the House has indicated they're going to open up the state office building the end of March. I think March 23rd. And what that means is they're going to be open 3 days a week, where staff members will then be at the state office building, and will actually be able to, as lobbyists, go into the building and talk to the legislators. We can do that in the Senate now to some degree. You have to have an appointment before you go up there. But again, you got to catch people when they're going to be in town. So it is lobbying again. This year is a bit of a struggle because that was the reason they call us lobbyists. I think I've said this before, and that is we work people in the lobbies, and we catch them whenever we can to talk to them about these issues. And when you can't do that, it makes it somewhat problematic. Another issue that we're waiting now for the February forecast, and the February forecast is the forecast that's done by management and budget through the governor's office, and they'll make the last forecast, and that's the budget document that the legislature uses to make their final decisions in terms of how much money is actually available or not available. As you may recall, the November forecast showed us with the almost $7.8 billion surplus. So they haven't decided yet on how they're going to spend any of that money. There are many disagreements about how it's going to be spent, but that battle won't be solved, I'm sure, until the end of the session, maybe even into June. But there is money there, and a lot of it, because there's also additional COVID money that's still sitting there that hasn't been spent. So they've got a big task. I know when I served in the state government, it seemed like it was always more difficult to deal with surpluses than when you had shortages, because when you have surpluses, everybody has an idea about how and where they want to spend the money. Whereas if there's a shortage, they can't be. The mindset is totally different. So anyway, that's kind of the layout of the land for the legislative session. This is supposed to be the short session, supposed to be the bonding session, and bonding is at the forefront. And their last time I've heard, they're talking anywhere from a 1.7 to a $3 billion bonding bill. I think the governor's upwards of over $3 billion, and I know the House minority leader said 1.7 for a top figure. So typically we'll end up. My guess is going to end up somewhere around $2 billion. That's what I would guess. And I know in the bonding arena, we have legislation from the Red Board on flood hazard mitigation for approximately $48 million for a number of their projects that are ready to go. And that bill was heard today, I think, for the first time in the House, and I'm sure it's going to get a hearing in the Senate as well. And again, that's one of those things, they just hear all the bills and they don't make any decisions until they're done hearing all the bills, and then the committees will sit down and figure out how much they want to spend and what they want to spend the money on. We've had legislation hearings on the salt bill, certified salt bill. That's being authored by Representative Fisher in the House and Senator Rood in the Senate, two very good authors. And I don't think there was one vote in opposition in either body, in either committee to that bill. But now the bill is on its way to the judiciary committees, and that's where the rub has always been, because they're asking for exemption and liability, and as a result, and that's when lawyers get involved, and of course they don't want to give up that exemption. So as a result, it gets a lot more difficult in a hurry. But I think there seems to be a little bit more concern that this is something that should get done and figure out a solution. And I'm somewhat confident that may pass this session. Maude did send letters of endorsement on that legislation. We're obviously very supportive of that. We think a lot of our watershed districts work on that issue, and it's more and more of an issue every year. And I think it's time that the legislature take action on it. But we will be involved in that. We have introduced our general fund levy bill for $500,000 from $250,000, and Representative Torkelson is the author in the House, and Senator Chris Eaton is the Senate author. And we've had discussions with Senator Torkelson. We are setting up a meeting now with Senator Eaton to discuss how she wants to pursue this legislation. But we're hoping that we can get some hearings this year and start to tell our story on that issue in front of some of the committees that in the environment and in the tax arenas. So that's that. We also there's some legislation out there dealing with the buffer tax credit, and I know there was a deal struck on that to make it more palatable to the counties to administer it, and I think that actually maybe it will have a chance of passing this year if it can be done in an administrative streamlined way. The Board of Water and Soil Resources, the governor has made recommendations on the supplemental budget, and that deals with a number of different issues, dealing with paying for their tribal liaison to COVID, unrelated, unreimbursed cost, and additional money for action grants and water storage. 15 million the first, I think in the first year. So anyway, so that's good news. So that's an area where we may get some help, and also the healthy soil program. They're asking for 17 million for the next fiscal year, and then 9 million for the year after that. But I think that if they can get the first year funding, that would be great. So that would be helpful. There's a number of other bills that are out there. Until we get a little closer and they start hearing them, I guess we won't worry about them too much until we see what those are and what they're serious about, and and what they're not serious about. Um, we have our legislative breakfast in the end of March, and I know they're still formulating how that's gonna work. It's again, that one's a difficult one to do because I went to the Capitol for the first time this week. It's the first time since I left in March of 2020, and there weren't very many people there. I can tell you that it was a real eye opener. We had I would say probably a third of the Senate was there in person, and maybe about the same in the House. And with the remote rules that they have, they don't really even have to come to town. And a lot of them don't come very often for several reasons. One is they don't want to be exposed to COVID, and that would be the first reason. The second reason I think is that they gotten kind of used to doing this their job in a remote fashion, and I think they think they can be just as effective doing that, and then of course they're not bothered by all the lobbyists. So anyway, it is again makes our jobs a lot more difficult. But I think it's probably going to be close to normal maybe by the end of the session. That's what I'm hoping for, because I've heard that the Senate's going to open up a little more, and there's going to be more access. I actually testified in the Senate live the other day, and that's the first time in a couple of years that I've done that. So things are gradually getting better, and I think people are feeling better about the COVID, and I think are feeling a little more assured that they can gather in groups and not be so afraid of coming down with that terrible disease. But anyway, so with that, I believe I covered everything I think we needed to talk about. We're going to continue to work on that general levy. I know that's a very high priority and has been, and hopefully we can get that moving and get that passed this session. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and we will catch you next time. And good luck to everybody, and hopefully spring is here.